Hello, this is T.A. McLaughlin, or Teresa, back for episode 4 of Tayamni Transmissions. Tonight, we're going to talk about the actual book, Book 1. And we will go through different sections of the book, so you know the story. You know the background already of the Tayamni. You know how they became the Tayamni, and who the people were, or the entities were, that created them, created the Tayamni. And then you know the role that the Tayamni had in creating humanity. So, in the first chapter, we begin with a woman who is telling a story. And she's telling a story, or actually, the narrator is talking about the woman who's telling the story. And in The Love of the Tayamni, we mix up a lot sci-fi and ancient history and sort of a metaphysical way of understanding the world, the universe, the spiritual universe, the scientific universe, and the universe we live in. So I'll just read the first part of the prologue to you. We knew the stories, but few believed. Tales from the first age. No records, no images, no memories to download. All that was left were interpretations, translations, the ancient shir, notes in the margins of forgotten pages. It was the story of birth, or rather rebirth, depending on the translation. So this is going back to Tayamni origins, these stories. The stories that all the Tayamni knew were quite old, very old. They didn't even know how old they were, maybe 1 million years old. That's what was taught, that's what is believed. And the stories are of the Tayamni beginning. And then also, when we say birth or rebirth, we're talking about the Tayamni themselves, how they were reborn from an ancient race that was dying. The translations all began the same way. It was the story of Deshret, the Shir of yesterday, sung, recounted for millennia, songs from the land of the dead. You learned it in childhood. And then the narrator, who is not identified, says, closing my eyes, I see an old woman sitting in a mead hall. We sit around her in hushed silence. We knew the story, but she held us enwrapped in the palm of her withered hand. Now, shir, I think, is a Hebrew word that means story, like an old story or song. And let's see, there was another word here I was going to explain. Oh yeah, the shir of yesterday, the songs of yesterday, songs from the land of the dead. We sat around her, the old woman, in the half-dark of Erudu. Erudu is a season at Musara, the Tayamni homeworld. As we talked about before, Musara is a moon that orbits a gas giant planet, and then the gas giant planet, Nirgal, orbits within a binary system. There is a large red star called Inanna. That is the primary star, Inanna. Inanna is also the name of an ancient Sumerian goddess. And of course, in our stories, that name came from the Tayamni to the humans at Sumeria and at the land along the river, Egypt. There were two different Tayamni missions at Earth. One was at Kemet, which is the land of Black Earth, that's Egypt, and the other was at Sumer. And this is where the Tayamni first created villages and built structures and gave humans food. Part of the reason is to attract humans so that they could teach humans. Attract humans by food, by giving them food, and then also teach them culture, teach them agriculture, which was already widespread, I think, at this time. But they taught them better ways, to grow things. They taught them skills, agricultural skills, and animal husbandry, all the things they would need to live and survive, how to build structures, that sort of thing. So they're sitting around in the half-dark of Erudu. There will be several mentions of this particular season. This is the season when Sig, which is the yellow star, or white star, white dwarf, comes closest to Musara and Nirgal and brings with it white light. Like the light we have here on Earth, our sun is a white star. And it causes the plants to change when it's a season, in that the half-light of the normal part of the year is the red light, which is dimmer than the white light. So Erudu is like the springtime. So Sig comes and brings yellow, white light, and flowers bloom. Trees that have red leaves, dark red leaves, turn green. It's like a springtime. But because they orbit within a binary system, it adds complexity to their seasons. They have, I think, 6 or 8 seasons, I've forgotten. But I refer to, in the books, I refer to the seasons there at Musara and what happens during each of those seasons. And I tell the stories this way about, the race, the race of the people who became the Tayamni, how they destroyed themselves. And I bring up many of the same issues that humans are having here on Earth, that we pollute the air, that we pollute the waters, that many species died off, that with the atmosphere in danger, there was more risk of radiation, and so plants and animals changed in order to survive. But at the time that the 9 find the Tayamni, or the people who become the Tayamni, Musara is almost dead. Their homeworld is almost dead. But the 9 have better technology, and they repair the homeworld. They repair Musara, the climate, the water, and they make the planet livable again. They teach the Tayamni of the risks of their cultural practices that caused them to die, that caused their planet, or their moon, actually, they lived on a moon, to practically die, almost die, with not many life forms left. And that also caused her, the Tayamni, to die. It was all the root of it all was greed. They would destroy their homeworld, they would destroy themselves if they could make more money. And that's the situation we are in, that humanity is in. We are destroying our planet. We're destroying the atmosphere. We're having a great die-off right now. We are in an extinction level event because of what we've done to the planet. This is what happened to the Tayamni, but they were saved. They were saved by an alien race. So, and in this first, in the prologue, we actually enter into a, let me just see. I won't go over the part of the first Berenib being created. Let's see. I will begin now at the how the Tayamni created this, what they did to try to help humanity, and then also what did they do to help themselves help humanity? What kinds of technology did they put in place for themselves? And so I'll begin with this part of the prologue, where it says, these, at the end of the story that the unidentified narrator is telling about the woman is saying at the end of her story, she says, these are the stories, this was the song, the justifications, the rationales, the foundations for our mission. It was to such a world that we, the Tayamni, came in turn to save other species on the brink of extinction, splicing our own DNA, teaching the sacred language. It was to such a world we came, when we came to Earth. And they talk about why they decided to help humans. I talk about what had happened to humanity to put them at in the extinction level event they were in, and why they were in danger of dying out. It says, the Tayamni had become aware of people in other systems who had likewise undergone genetic modifications. These species, like the Tayamni themselves, were connected by the DNA of the Nine. Genetically compatible, they were numerous and scattered not only throughout the Orion Spur, the constellation's broken off spiral arm, but on the spiral arms themselves. So, I'll talk a little bit about the part of the galaxy that the Tayamni and humanity, and then other species that we introduce in Book 2, where they live, where we all live. You may not, you probably are aware that there are spiral arms and that there are two primary spiral arms. The two primary spiral arms are the Sagittarius arm and the Perseus arm. And of course, we humans named them after the ancient Greek gods and used terms from the ancient Greek culture. And that's because these are Western names, of course, names given to these parts of the galaxy by Western cultures. The Sagittarius arm and the Perseus arm. But there are sort of other spirals that are not complete spirals. They're not big like those two arms are. Those are the two primary arms. But there is also something like a spoke. Now there aren't, in fact, I'm not aware of another spoke. I'm aware of only one, and it connects the Perseus arm to the Sagittarius arm. And it goes beyond a little bit, and then beyond and a little bit closer to the center of the galaxy as well. And that spoke, is a straight line connecting the two spiral arms, is called the Orion Spur, another Greek term. Earth, Musara, the solar system, the Tayamni system, which is Tayamni Pa, the all the stars that we can see are that we have constellations for, to my knowledge, are in the Orion Spur. So, in the books, the Orion Spur has quite a few occupied um, inhabitable planets that are inhabited planets, and where there are technological races. Technological races means we can build tools. We can build tools and use tools and build other things, with the tools. And I guess using that definition, crows would be a technological race, and other species. So, but the other planets, Musara, Nirgal, the Tayamni homeworld, Musara, the moon, orbiting Nirgal, orbiting within the binary system, that's not that far from Earth. And going down the Orion Spur from the center of the galaxy, going outward, when you get to the Perseus transit, there is another area, which is where the Perseus transit, it's not my term, it's a term used by scientists, is the place where the Orion Spur intersects with the Perseus arm. And in the books, there are quite a few inhabited planets and systems at that place, the Perseus transit. And then also on the Perseus arm, close to the transit. In fact, the most important planet, other than Earth and Musara, the moon, Musara, the most important planet, other than those, is called Kataru. And Kataru is the first place in this galaxy where the Nine landed. That's the first place where they got out of their ships and walked on land. And we call them the Nine, but at this point there were 8. Seth had gone. No one knew where he was. Seth was gone because of something that happened to him when the Nine went through the membrane from their dimension to our dimension. Nothing happened to any of the rest of the Nine, but something happened to Seth. Seth is represented by a chimera, like most of the Nine are. Chimera is a human-animal hybrid in our cultures. So, Isis has wings. So Isis is an avian, and let's see, Thoth is also avian. He is part human and part ibis, a type of bird in Egypt that is seen a lot. Thoth is the god of writing, mathematics, and I showed you Thoth last week. He's right here, and it's thought that the reason he was deified, or why they created a god like Thoth, is because the ibis has a long arched bill, and it looks for insects and worms or whatever in the dirt near bodies of water, like in streams or swamps, and it will move its beak in such a way that the Egyptians looked at that and thought, oh, that's writing. He must be a god. This ibis creature must be the god of writing. And then the other qualities of Thoth became assigned because of the logical sort of relationship between writing and knowledge and reading and mathematics and all the things that writing gives us, all the intellectual education, all of those qualities of learning became assigned to Thoth. But in our books, in the books, Thoth is an alien, and he comes from Ayam like the rest of the nine. So let's see. The and I've forgotten my why I brought them up right now. But the nine landed at first at Kataru. That's right. So and at Kataru is also where Seth found them, and his primary objective, his first objective, we hear about it in the second book, is when Seth says his first objective is to kill the leader of their mission. And the leader is Osiris. Osiris is also, in the books anyway, aquatic. He has aquatic heritage. I mean, he has a body like a human, but he's green. And in the books, he has an aquatic heritage, and that's why he's green. And so Seth determines that all creatures with aquatic heritages should be killed. Because Seth went nuts, basically. Seth was the only one of the nine who, when their ship went through the membrane, going from their dimension to ours, something happened to Seth. He had a great deal of physical pain, and it changed his mind, and he had been a scientist, and now he became evil, a murderer. And his first task was to end this mission. He thought the mission was evil, their mission going from their home dimension to this dimension. He thought it was an evil act after he had been damaged. And his first objective was to kill Osiris. So he found them at Kataru, and he killed Osiris. But that's another story for another time. And I see our time is up. So I hope you enjoyed the fourth episode of Tayamni Transmissions. And I will see you next week for episode 5. And please like, subscribe, and send comments to me if you like. I would love to hear from you. And ask questions if you like about the series. Any question that you like. And I will try to respond. Okay? So until next week, I'm signing off. Freckles says hello and goodbye as well. She's over here somewhere nearby. Anyway, lots of love. See you next week.